Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Um, so here we are this morning. Just wanted to go over a couple of the um, spiritual practices. Uh, you know, when we get in recovery and we recognize that we're powerless, that and getting really getting the idea of powerlessness for most of us isn't a simple task, and it doesn't happen just because somebody convinces us. We've convinced ourselves. you know Many of us have the lesson was hard learned. We've really gotten bitten by the ringer. It's interesting that the ringer, by the way, was a part in an old washer machine that somebody sometimes, if you got your hand stuck in the ringer, you were and many of us in that expression comes out of the big book about getting our hand in the ringer, and many of us had been very very mangled in the ringer, and that's why hi Trish, nice to see you. And that was our initiation to step one. We realized we were powerless because we had tried to quit using or drinking. We tried to get our lives to work on our own will, and finally realized that look, it doesn't work. I can't make it work. I have to surrender, and so it isn't a matter of being convinced by somebody. It's just life had convinced us. So we were ready, willing, and maybe not so able, but ready and willing to do whatever was needed or asked from us to find uh, a life that was worth living. And as an addict and an alcoholic, many of us had decided that life wasn't worth living, and had made preparations to leave, and through suicide or drinking ourselves to death, and so anyway, what does a daily practice look like? We realize that if we read the book, and that's key. That really is key. There's so much in there. There's so much direction in there. There's that we read the book, we realize that our recovery's contingent on our daily maintenance. We've got to do things on a daily basis for our recovery. And hi, Cami. Good to see you too this morning. Hi. So, what do we do on a daily basis? Well, prayer. Prayer is an amazing way to stop and get connected. There are many simple prayers in the big book. There's a, you know, the in there's a reading called On Awakening in step 11 that just guides us to the day, and gives us the prayers. We're asked not, to be relieved of selfishness, of dishonesty, of fear, of anger, and those are the things that we're looking for on a daily basis. And there's little prayers that were given to us in the fourth step on how to deal with those things when they come up, and because they do. And those are, we can ride those train. If you get on the resentment train, you can ride that train right into the you know the station and grab a drink, right? So we don't want to be on the resentment train or the fear train, right? And so we ask to be protected from that, and that those are kind of clearly on a daily basis, that prayer is guide me, strengthen me, show me what you'd have me to be. Remember, we have a new employer, and the new employer is we got to check in and be guided on a regular basis. So that's important. Daily practice is prayer, quiet time or meditation. Just to slow down, just to slow down, and drop in. Many of us hit the floor running. Got to get this done, got to get that done. We're back running the show. So just have that quiet time, check in. Important. Um, I put on my list a little yoga, and actually, yoga for me, gets me into my body. And again, another way of being present is you don't have to be some master yogi. Just um, to just do a few postures, just to feel yourself. Again, it's a part of being present. And I also do sometimes. I did this morning. yoga nidra, which is a friend of mine, Tanis Fishman, has she's on a couple of apps. One of the apps, what's that app called? And Tanis has got a yoga nidra um, thingy on this app called Insight Timer, and wow, yoga nidras about an hour, but wow, it's just such a spiritual experience. It really is. Another thing is a gratitude list. Um, you know, so I have a gratitude list, and I don't write it new every day, but I have a list. And also with my gratitude list is I have a prayer list. You know, which I think falls under the heading of service, and so there's guys, mostly guys, but there's women as well on my prayer list. Well, I don't sponsor women. I do um, um, have them on my prayer list. And so those are some of the things that and service, of course. Every day call a couple of guys, call a couple of people. How you doing? Love is an action word. So so those are daily things. If you're looking for, what do I do on a daily basis to keep myself spiritually fit? Those are a list of a few of them, and you could add more to the list. I'd love it if you did. What do you do, um, on a daily basis to keep yourself spiritually fit? What could be more important? It says in the book when we're spiritually fit that the physical and mental fall in after that. I mean, it actually says that when we're spiritually fit, everything else falls in place. Our emotional, our mental, our physical, um, well-being are all improved or recovered as well. So that's really my message today. Short, but daily practices. Yeah, it's key. It's key. And I'm speaking to those of us who've recognized that we're powerless and that our lives are unmanageable, and that there is a higher power, and that we are connected to or aware of or conscious of that higher power. And now the daily practices are how do I kind of stay in the presence of that? How do I stay aware of that on a daily basis? So that's what that message this morning is all about. So just going to read from my little book I've been reading here for a while. What is the date? Um, what is the date? 21st. My gosh. 21st. So, did I mention that I have a treat today for me? Talk about spiritual practices, which I really enjoy and have enjoyed for many, 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 many years. I'm going to a sweat today, and with a good friend of mine, Paul. Paul, um, lives in the reserve and has a beautiful home and beautiful family, and has been holding sweats for many, many years. And he's you know, um, Nakota Sioux is his heritage, and so I'm going today to sweat with him, and oh, wow, I used to sweat with Paul 25, 30 years ago, and have sweated with lots of people in the interim, but it's great to be back in Paul's sweat. So, um, you know, talk about a spiritual hit. If you can be in the sweat and be present, it can be an amazing uplifting. It really can. The singing, the prayers. I recommend it if you have a chance ever to go. Okay, March 21st. Thought for the day. In the 12-step world, we forget about the future. Ah, that's right. We forget about the future. We know from experience that as time goes on, the future takes care of itself. Always, we're living, I call it sometimes living in the miracle, because shit just unfolds. It's like, wow, I could have never planned it. And it's beautiful. Future takes care of itself. Everything works out well as long as we stay sober and stay, doing our spiritual practices, right? That is sober. All we need to think about is today, the now. be here now. Yes. When we get up in the morning and see the sun shining in the window, we thank God that He has given us another day to enjoy because we're sober. Thanking God's a daily practice. A day in which we may have a chance to help somebody, another daily practice, right? And this question is, do I know that this day is all I have, and with God's help, I will stay sober today? Beautiful thought for the day. Meditation for the day. All is fundamentally well. That does not mean that all is well in the surface of things, but it does mean that God has a purpose for the world. God has a purpose for the world, which will eventually work out when enough human beings are willing to follow His way. Well, I think it's working out no matter what. Wearing the world as a loose garment. Wearing the world as a loose garment means not being upset by the surface wrongness of things, but to feel deeply secure in the fundamental goodness and purpose in the universe. That's the bottom line. I don't go with the idea of wrongness, actually. I think that no matter what's happening, it's for us. There is nothing against us. And so there's no rightness or wrongness in that way. There just is. There is isness. But that's my experience. Prayer for the day. I pray that God may be with me in my journey through the world. I pray that I may know that God is planning that journey. That's the deal, Grace. Grace. God's planning. We'll call that grace, right? And so just experience it. You want freedom? You want freedom? It really is in just being with what is. And, allowing people in our lives to be who they are. And whether we agree or don't agree is irrelevant. Okay? Just be. Just be who you are. And be that love. Right? Okay, so we're going to do a little meditation. And here in a minute. If you'd like to join me, the reason I do this, and I kind of explain it every morning, is that even if we're only going for 3 or 4 minutes, and that really is all we're going to do this morning, is like 3 or 4 minutes, but if we're only going for 3 or 4 minutes, it's my way of kind of helping all my friends who watch this to drop into it, just to be here now. And there's seems to be a lot of confusion about meditation, and people, especially in early recovery, are like, oh, I can't do that. My God, my mind is just too busy. Well, this is how we get there. We practice it. We practice for daily, and we drop into that space. So just join me this morning for like 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to go into that quiet space together. So wherever you are, just close your eyes. Hopefully you're in a safe place. Hopefully you're not driving. And if you are, pull over. Pull over, okay? All right. So here we are. Just drop in, close your eyes. Let's use the body for a minute to bring us into the moment. Let's just bring our focus, our attention, our awareness, into our body, into our feet, to our knees. Just feel your shoulders drop, relax. Into our breath. Just bring our attention into our hips, to our lower abdomen, to our lower back. Just feel the energy, just kind of the tightness, just kind of release as we bring our attention there, our focus, our energy there. Just up our spine, into our shoulders, and our back, our shoulder blades. Now we're here. That's right, we're in the breath. We're here now. Into our skull, into our head. Just bring our attention to the front of our head, into our forehead, into that spot right between the eyebrows and just a little above. And down into our eyes. Just let them relax. In the sockets, they can just drop and relax. To our mouth and jaw, to our throat, and down into our heart. Here we are, totally relaxed. Just bring your attention into your hands, just let them drop. Just be here now. If thoughts come up, just let them go. Recognize that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts just happen randomly, spontaneously, trying to get your attention. They are. Just let them go. So we're not mastering the mind with authority. We're mastering the mind with love. So as we let our thoughts go, let them go with love. There's no next, nothing to think forward for, nothing to think backward for. Just be here now. Even closer than the breath. So just remember, this is a practice. We do this on a regular basis. It becomes a haven eventually. It's like a beautiful place to go, to drop into the stillness, the oneness, the isness, the emptiness, the beginning and the end, the allness. What could be more beautiful? So you can stay here as long as you like. I'm going to leave you here. Thank you. Thank you for joining me this morning. Sending you love, eternal love. The always love, the unconditional love.